Hello everyone, I am Ayush Jha, uh, current president of GCCT Tech Club. And with me, we are doing this event in collaboration with RCGCCT. From RCGCCT, we have Mihir Gupta. He will introduce himself.
So, hello guys, this is Mihir, and I'm the secretary for the Rotary 2021-22 of Rotary Club of Government College of Engineering and Ceramic Technology. Hello and welcome everybody.
I would request Sitam to introduce the speaker.
Okay, so hello everyone, welcome you all to that interactive session, and I would like to welcome our speaker Shunit. He's a brilliant dev inside, and he's a great Android developer and freelancer. And also he was an previous year's G-Shock 2021's participant of TensorFlow. And also he's very much passionate about open source and ML kits and all of these stuffs and ER codes. So please, Shunit, I would like to call Sunit.
Yeah, that was a nice introduction. So thank you for having me here. It's really nice to be here. As you just listened, I was a Google Summer Code student in 2021 for TensorFlow. There I was working with the TF Lite team, where I designed their iOS and Android apps. So without doing any further delay, let me share my screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, is it visible? It's visible.
So I'm sharing the slides now. So today we are going to talk about open source and Hacktoberfest 2021. So as you know, I'm Sunit Roy. I'm a freelance Android developer and a Google Summer Code student. So and below are my social links. You can find me there. I'm really active in my social media in these social media platforms. You can just ping me there, and most probably I will reply. So first, I would really like to thank GCE City Tech Club for giving me this opportunity to do this session. I mean, um, I really like what they are doing, and let me tell you something, a little bit about me. I'm a second year electronics diploma student. I make Android tutorials on YouTube, and currently I'm a technical mentor in CodePath, which is a non-profit organization, US based, where I'm mentoring college students on programming and open source. And I was a Google Summer Code student in TensorFlow, and I love on-device machine learning. I'm really active contributor in TF Lite. So, and what is TF Lite? TF Lite, you can say, the Google's based on on-device machine learning. Most of the technologies Google developed for on-device machine learning have a backend of TF Lite. So let's get to our next slide. So our today's agenda is we will talk about what is open source, and we will learn that why we should contribute to open source and how to contribute to open source and what are the prerequisites. And we will also we'll also learn about Hacktoberfest, and at the end of the session we will do a Q&A session where you can ask me anything. And even when the session is running, I will pause while changing the slides. So if you have any questions, you can just write them in the chat. And Sitam, if you are there, you can ask me while changing the slides. I will take a pause then.
Okay.
So first, let's talk about open source. What is open source? I know you might have heard about this. Currently, it is really famous in the student communities of India, and it is nothing new. Let me tell you. Um, Open source is a term that is originally referred to open source softwares. So there are two kinds of softwares. One are closed source, like you can take an example of iOS. The iOS operating system is closed source, and open source alternative is Android. The whole Android operating system that is running in your device is open source. You can see the code and modify it and suggest changes to it. And open source, as I just said, open source code is designed to be publicly accessible to anyone, can see, modify and distribute the code as they see it. Most of the open source projects are like this, but license can vary. Open source license is another topic. We will touch on that in another session. So we are already using open source softwares. Since we're kids, we were kids. So like I just have said that the Android operating system is open source, and the Chrome browser that you use is built on top of Chromium, which is also open source. And even the Microsoft's new browser, the Microsoft Edge, is also built on top of Chromium. And then Linux is also open source. Linux is an operating system, and you can think of this that a large amount of work that we do on internet is powered by Linux. All of the servers, all of the smartwatches, and most of the things are powered by Linux. And even Android is built on top of Linux. And I am sure that you have used Firefox browser and VLC media player, and Telegram is something that we all use right now to see, of course, to see pirated movies. So we talked about what is open source. Now let's talk about why we should contribute to open source. I mean, what is the benefit of contributing to open source? So first one, and the most important one, I think, is real world software development experience. So when you contribute to open source, you get to know how large scale projects like Chromium and Android and Firefox, Telegram works, which experience you will not get while working in a small company in the early stage of your career. And even in big companies, you won't get, even if you are working in Facebook, you will only get the experience of working in a working in React projects or projects which are related to Facebook. But when you are open source developer, you can contribute to the Oracle projects, Netflix projects, Apple projects, Google projects, and also the Facebook one. So it gives you a great real world software development experience, which is really scalable, and you get to work with one of the most reputable developers in the world. During my GSOC period, I was working with the main team of Google Brain, who also works on the TF Lite team. So it can be really beneficial for your real world experience. And other than the real world experience, you also get to enhance your resume. So when you contribute to large scale projects, large scale project like Kubernetes and Android and Chromium and TensorFlow, TensorFlow TFGS, or anything related to CNCF. And there are also big organizations like Firefox is a big project, and Square has some great open source libraries. When you contribute to those projects, it really enhances your resume. Just think that you are applying for an Android developer job, and you have contributed to the constant layout or the retrofit library. So how much credibility and that adds to your profile. And recruiters these days really look for the developers who do have real world development experience. And other important aspect of working in open source is working on impactful softwares that gives you satisfaction. Like if you're working Python, we use Python programming language. So if you are working on Python and you're contributing to Python language, their repo, and even if you are enhancing their documentation, is a great satisfaction, as your work will get to millions of developers and they will get benefit from your work. And this also adds a great credibility to your profile. So, and this is, I will as a freelancing developer or someone who wants to create a personal brand or later wants to create his own business, this is really important, networking with other developers. So when you work on large scale big projects on open source, which are large scale, you get to network with other developers. um, I mean, the global community of developers, you can network with them. Most of them are working in companies or consultancy firm. So other than approaching them from LinkedIn, you can work with them in open source, and then they already know your work, how you work, how good you work. And most of the time they are not looking for a um, software geek or a really expect really expert on this tech stack. They want a person who can communicate well on that and has a uh, good understanding of the tech stack. That is enough for most of the time. So you get to network with other developers, which can give you great opportunities. And last is jobs and opportunities. So when you contribute to big projects like retrofit or the open source Android projects, the recruiters directly reach you out and they ask you to work in their companies. And other opportunities are also there when you continuously contribute to one organization. They also ask you to be maintainer of that organization and ask you to participate in programs like Google Summer of Code, Google Season of Docs, and there are other programs also. So mainly these are the reasons you should participate in open source. So if so now you know why we should contribute to open source. Now let's see how to contribute to open source and what are the prerequisites. So let's go through the prerequisites first. So for contributing to open source, you just need to know Git and GitHub, a programming language of your choice. It can be anything, Python, Java, JavaScript, C++, C Sharp, anything, Golang, and a tech stack of your choice. You can choose any of the mobile frameworks like Android, iOS, Flutter, and you can also do web, machine learning, deep learning. So, and you don't have to be an expert in any of this. You just need to know the basics and you just need to get started. And when you do the basics and just get started, you can just learn on the go. If you get stuck somewhere, you can just Google it. Most probably the problem you are facing, it is already solved by someone and he have posted the solution of this problem in Stack Overflow or any of the website. And this is how you can start in open source. And you can also do non-code contributions. but we will not touch on that as this session will be um, highly highly um, this session will be mostly for the software developers, and it is going to focus on that, highly focus on that. So for learning Git, I have some resources for you. So just click on this. This is official docs of Git. So I will share the links with you, and I will share the whole slides with you. You can just find it after
Sure.
the session. So when you open this link, this is the official docs of Git. You can here find everything you want. You can write from setup and configuration to creating and getting projects. You can clone any project from GitHub, or you can create any project in your document in your folder, computer folder, and you can find all of the commands here. This is the official um, documentation of Git. You can just, I really recommend you to go through this link. And if you don't like to read documentation, you are someone like me who likes tutorials. So here's a free Codecamp tutorial for you. I'll also share the link. So here's a free code. So here is a free Codecamp tutorial you can follow. It is just 1 hour long. It will give you a basic understanding of Git and GitHub. I will say it will give you more than understanding of GitHub, more than basics. You will learn more than basics here. You can just go through this. It is really nicely written, nicely organized. And other than this, if you don't like the official doc and the free Codecamp tutorial, here's the YouTube search link. You just have to search Git tutorial here. You will find lots of good tutorial. You can just choose one of them. I highly suggest you to go through this or this. So you can just go through the tutorials and the docs that I have mentioned, and this will be more than enough for you to get started. So after you have learned Git, and you also, if you want to learn the programming languages, just let me show you this. Just like the Git search, you can just do a Java tutorial search, and you can find this. This one is really nice. And even if you want to learn Python, you can just search that. Yeah. And after learning a programming language, if you want to learn any tech stack like Android development, just need to search Android dev tutorial, and you can find this. So after you have learned the required skills, let's see how you can contribute to the projects. So for contributing to a project, you need to find a project that you like and that matches your expertise. So for finding a project, I recommend you to go through these two websites. One is Google Summer of Code website. So in the Google Summer of Code website, you just have to go to this organization tab. And the thing that I really like about this website is you can just search whatever tech stack you know, and it will give you an organization which has tech stack related to that which has projects related to that tech stack, and you can start. You can go through your project and find your favorite project and start contributing to it. So let me show you. If I want to contribute to a Python project. So here is Python organization itself who creates Python programming language. Other than this, there are also organizations which uses Python. You can just click there, and then you just need to click learn more and see projects, and here you can find their projects. They are below. And then you can go to the project ideas, and you can see the projects there that they were working in 2021 for GSOC. Most of them are still on progress, and they're still working on that project. And other than this, the Google Server Code website is great to find projects related to your tech stack of your choice. And other than this, the broader website, which will give you more projects to find out, more projects to choose from, is github.com. Why is it asking me to sign in? Okay. So when you will open this github.com, you will see something like this. Here you just have to go to this. You just can search from here. Let's say I want to contribute to a Android project. So here it is giving me a recommendation to search Android on all GitHub. You just need to click that. And here what it is doing is it is showing you most relevant projects related to Android, like this. Each of these has lots of stars, like you can see 11.8k stars, and it is also giving me a suggestion to see the Android topic. So if I click here, see topic. So you can see all of the projects that are in Android topic. Related to Android. And first it is Flutter, which is also a mobile development framework. And here you can see lots of great. This one I really like. So this is Square's OK HTTP library, which is highly used by developers. If you like this one, and it uses the languages that you know, like Kotlin or Java, you can just fork it like this, and it will ask you. It will just show something like this. Here, you will have your name, and after that, it will show OK HTTPS. Just need to click there, and you can just fork the project like this. So what this does is it makes a copy of that project under your surname, under your username. So you can use github.com like this to filter out projects and choose your favorite project. So these were two websites that I wanted to highlight for finding a open source project. So after you have selected your open source project, now it's time for you to contribute to it and read the code and understand what this project is doing. So for contributing to a open source project, first you need to fork it like we did, I just showed you. Forking it actually makes a clone of that project under your surname. Like here you can see Sunit HTTP OKHTTP from Square OKHTTP. So it has made a copy of that project in my repo. Then we have to go to the we need to go through the contribute.md file. This file is made for you to read while contributing. You can find it here. Yeah, contributing.md file. This is made for you who are made for the contributors like you who wants to contribute to the project, and you can just go through this. They want to make the contribution process really smooth, so they have added this. Most of the big projects have this, and if you don't find a contribute.md file in that repo, you can find something like this. Let me show you this. This is a project that I'm developing and maintaining. So my project is not that big like HTTP. So what I did is I just added a section called contribute, where I just added that you can add a new issue and mail me at my email address, and I have also created a Discord channel to contribute to the project. You can just find a contribute section in the readme file, or there will be a contribute.md in the project. You can go through this, which is made for you to contribute easily. So after forking it and reading the contribute.md file, next thing you need to do is build the project in your local system and run it. Like if there's an Android app, for example, there is an app called DuckDuckGo, which is an alternative of Google search. That is an Android app, so I can just download the source code using git commands and run it on my local device. Local device means your computer or laptop, whatever you are using. Run it and run the code using Android Studio. So then you just need to set up the project and in your local system and run it. After doing that, after successfully building the project in your local system and running it, next thing you want to do is joining their mailing list, Slack, Discord, or they might have a GitHub channel for their project. So what like I have added this Discord channel link here. So it will help you when you will get stuck while developing a project feature or resolving a bug, because the people who maintain the project are working for a longer time than you, and they can help on the thing that you got stuck, or they might have faced that earlier. So joining the Slack or mailing list or Discord is a good thing for you. You might get some help from there. And while asking a question, always try to figure out always you should try to see that if you can find the solution of that problem in the internet or not. If you can find that in the internet, you don't need to ask the maintainer, as they are also busy maintaining the project and doing some contribution themselves. So then now you just need to go through the code. You just need to read the code. Here is the thing. In open source, you will spend most of your time reading code rather than writing, because code bases are really big, and for you to make an impactful change in that code base, you need to really understand the code. So for that reason, you need to really go through the code and read it and understand it properly. and you can write your own test for that code, and you can also go through the issues on the repos for you to understand what are the issues that people have with the project and what people are working on, how you can help, and what can be a contribution. So after going through the code and reading all of the issues what are currently present in the repo, I want you to pick a bug what you can see in the code. It can be in the documentation. It can be uh, it can be adding comments. I mean meaningful comments which makes the code more readable. And sometimes the code writing quality is not that good. You can say some changes there and ask the maintainer if this is something that they want. And if you have some ideas for the project, like right now in the TF Lite sample apps, I don't know how many of you have heard of Jetpack Compose. It is a Flutter-like framework for Android development, Android UI development. So some people suggested to add Jetpack Compose samples to the TF Lite example apps. So you can also think of ideas what can be added to the repo, how you want the repo to be, and talk with the maintainers and give them a great context that what you did and why you think this idea is gonna be great for the repo. So if you do this, if you are more than enough to do a meaningful contribution, and this is it. You just need to get involved. And so is there any question, Sitam?
Till now, though, not. If anyone, guys, you have some questions, then you can ask and feel free to ask here.
Yeah, you can ask if you have any questions.
Till now.
Well, yes.
May I ask
And
one question?
yeah, sure.
Actually, I'm a beginner, so where to start from the day zero?
Okay. I have. So for getting started into open source, you just need to have these three skills: Git and GitHub. Learning GitHub is nothing. It is really easy, and there is nothing technical about it. You just have to know the how the interface works. And Git is something that you have to learn, but it is not that tough, and you just need to know the basics of it. I have shared the learning resources here. You can just go through any of the tutorial in the YouTube. Most of them are great, and they also have a great documentation. Just learn Git and GitHub. Then a programming language of your choice. It can be Python, it can be Java, it can be JavaScript. I will suggest you to code in. I suggest you to do Python or JavaScript, as there are most of the frameworks are in Python or JavaScript. It will be a safer option. And then you can choose a tech stack. If you have coded in JavaScript, you might want to develop websites, so you can learn web development. So there are multiple good frameworks for you. You can learn React.js, which is a great for web development. So learn Git and GitHub first, then learn a programming language of your choice. It can be anything, and then learn a tech stack. It can be any mobile, like Android development, iOS development, Flutter, website development, anything, machine learning. You can learn anything from this, and you can start contributing to open source.
Anyone have any doubt?
And
Okay, I think Sunit, you should continue.
okay. So let's talk about Hacktoberfest. So as I think a few of you know that Hacktoberfest is currently running, and What Hacktoberfest is, let me tell you. Hacktoberfest is a month-long celebration of open source software by DigitalOcean to honor and uplift the open source community. So this is an event that is organized by DigitalOcean for upliftment of open source communities. Like just I just shown you that I am maintaining a project. So and there are many people like me who are maintaining projects. There can be small projects like mine. There can be big projects like Retrofit, Chromium, and others. So most of the big projects don't need any upliftment or honor, but doing this kind of events really uplifts the smaller open source communities. Um what they do is after starting this event, many beginners who never have contributed to open source are not in coding world and software development world. They want to get into open source. Some just want to get into open source to get the t-shirt. I also understand them, but I think open source is really big, and giving, you can say the t-shirt is just a prasad of, and open source is a mandir. So you can we can attract people to our open source community by giving them the t-shirt, and if they start doing it, and then they get the better other benefits of doing open source, and open source community also gets the benefit of having them. So Hacktoberfest is basically what I have written here. Oh, so basically, in Hacktoberfest, DigitalOcean hosts this event to bring new people to the open source world and give prizes if they complete a certain task. So in Hacktoberfest, you have to do some contributions to some repos in open source, and we will get to the specification in a minute. So in Hacktoberfest, you have to do some contributions to the open source repos, and you get a t-shirt, exclusive t-shirt from Hacktoberfest in return. And you can also plant a tree if you want. I will highly recommend you to do this, as I myself I don't have Hacktoberfest t-shirt. I choose to plant a tree, and this is it. Hacktoberfest, you have to contribute to some repos, and in return, Hacktoberfest will give you a prize of an exclusive t-shirt. And the main agenda behind this is to make other people aware of the open source community and make them uh, enter into this community. And there are and I will highly I highly I tell this to everyone that doing open source just for a stipend or just for a t-shirt is nothing that is really a small thing. Doing open source can give you big opportunities. Like you can work on big organizations, and there will be big opportunities which won't be coming for you directly. You won't see them coming to you directly, but they will. You can think of open source like brushing your teeth. You need to do it daily. You don't need to do it um, you just need to do small contribution daily, and this will be great for you, and this will give you benefits in longer term. So let's talk about the Hacktoberfest. First, let's go through the participation guide. So here it is. Why my internet is so slow? Okay, so I will also share the link of it. So here is the participation guide. I was just saying that you have to contribute to some repos. So here are the rules how you will contribute and what are legit, what are not. So you need to do a pull request to any repo in GitHub or GitLab. GitHub, just like GitHub, GitLab is a website where you can find lot of open source software and projects. So you have to just send pull request to that participating repo in GitLab or GitHub, and the pull request must contain commits that you made yourself. I mean some changes that you have made to the pull request, they should be added to the pull request. And if maintainer reports your pull request as a spam, it will not get counted towards your participation in Hacktoberfest. So this is what lots of people do. They just add some spaces to the repo to the branch and make a pull request. So this is not something that you should do. If you do, this will get counted as a spam request, and it won't help you to get the prizes.
Just like today, I have got a pull request who have make the icon, just copied the icon from the download the icon from the Google and change the icon of my application and send the PA. I have told him that please do it by your own, otherwise there may be some copyright issue.
Yeah, it is good if that was required. If you have made a issue that I want this kind of icons, but if someone just for sake of getting a t-shirt is doing this, it is not something that is correct.
Yeah.
And even other than this, you should behave in a good manner, as there are a lot of people in open source that are watching you, watching how you behave. You should follow code of conduct, which is nothing, just the guidelines to follow. So you should behave properly with the maintainers, and if you don't, they will report and you will be not eligible for to participate. And to get a t-shirt, you must make 4 approved pull requests to a project that is participating in this month of October. So you just have to make 4 pull requests in any projects. Like you can do 2 to mine, 2 to Sitams, or anyone's who is participating in Hacktoberfest. So you can just make 4 pull requests, and the maintainer will, if maintainer approves them, if you do a meaningful pull request, they are really welcoming community. You have to make a meaningful pull request. And this year only the first 50,000 participants can earn a t-shirt. So make sure you are making the pull request as soon as you can to get the t-shirts. But I will recommend, if you can, you should make pull request as soon as you can. But if you even not able to participate in this first 50,000, I still recommend you to learn these skills that I mentioned: GitHub, a programming language of your choice, a tech stack, a tech stack of your choice. This will help you on a long run, and this you will really benefit from this. So that was it. Below are my social links. You can ping me anywhere. Here is my LinkedIn, GitHub, Twitter. I will also launch some courses in YouTube in few days, and I'm really active in my Discord. You should join it. So you can just ping me in any of my social media sites. I'm really active there. I'll help you out in doing open source contributions, or if you want mentoring in software development, I am more than happy to help you in. And thank you for listening to me for this long. And thank you for that. Thank you to the Tech Club for inviting me. If anyone has any question, you can ask. So that's it, Sitam.
Yeah. Thank you, Sunit, for your time. Okay. Anyone have some questions?
You can ask any of your questions. If doesn't matter if it's silly or it doesn't makes you. I mean, you can ask any of your questions.
Okay, Shunit.
up for it.
Okay, Shunit. Some of people are asking that you should share the PPT with them. So
Yeah, I will after the session. I will share the link with you.
okay. Sure.
We'll get back to that.
Any further questions?
So can you once again show how to send the pull request?
Sunit, we can make a demonstration about that. We can make a peer to your
Yeah,
repository.
yeah. So if you want me to show a demo, I can. Yeah. So I'm just going to make a small document. I don't think this will help you to a external who want to make an external peer, because I can directly send it to my repo.
Yeah, but we can show it like in a documentation way. Just one small documentation we can change. Then we can make a peer to your.
Can you share the link of your repo? I can make a document change and make
Okay. Then I am sharing my repo.
we're just going to do it in github.com. We can just use it for it. And we're not going to get into the commands, but you can make the pull request in GitHub. They're really powerful software.
Okay, Sunit, I have shared.
Yeah, you can see it. So here is Sitam's app. Sitam's. So what I want to do is first I will fork the repo to contribute to it. So here is my account. I'll just click it, and it is making a copy of the repo to my account, onto my account. So here you can see I have a copy of Sitam's repo in my account. So what I want to do is I want to make changes in the README. So let's say we want to change a emoji. So let's change the emoji of COVID help. It is deleting the whole. Okay. We'll make a big change so everyone can see. So I am just removing the picture from the README. Now you can see there is no picture in the README. And after doing those changes, I will here I will just comment the changes. You can write a comment message. What changes you did. Basically, you have to write it here. I'm writing. This is a demo. This is for demo. And I'm just going to comment it. And as you can see, I have made the changes. There is no image here right now. So what I want to do is I will again click to the code tab, and here above my all of my directories you can see a contribute option here. Just need to click to this, and here you can see that this branch is one commit ahead of Sitam Dex 11's develop branch. So what I can do is I can open a pull request to request him to merge my changes to his rep. So for that, we just need to click to this open pull request. Yeah, it is showing the changes I have I did to the repo, and it is asking me if I want to create a pull request or not. I want to create. So this is a demo. Let me give this pull request a title for today's session, and I can add the description details here, like I will add blah 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 here. You can add here. You have to add meaningful description, but I'm just adding blah blah blah, and then you just have to click to this create pull request. And if you go to Sitam's repository, in the pull request section, here is our pull request. This is a demo for today's session. If I click to this, you can see the title that we have created and our description. So this is how you can create pull request, and if Sitam wants, he can merge this pull request to his repo. So it will get merged to the original repo, and then you will see the changes here.
That's it. And if you guys thinking, okay, sure, Shunit said.
No, you can continue.
Okay. And if you guys thinking about to contribute in Hacktoberfest, you should make sure that Hacktoberfest and Hacktoberfest accepted tag is there. It's their maintainer guideline. It was there.
Yeah. Only when only then your contributions will get counted if the maintainers adds a Hacktoberfest accepted label to your pull request. And another thing,
Say.
Another thing I want to show you is for finding the Hacktoberfest projects on GitHub. You can just go to this link. I will provide the PPT with you. I will share the PPT with you. So if you go to this link, you can see all of the projects which are in Hacktoberfest, and here you can select your favorite project, and you can use this. This is really nice. You can just filter out the programming language you know. Like I'm really expert in Java, so I will click Java. So after adding that filter, just like Flipkart and Myntra, you can see the Java projects here. So you can contribute to any project that you want in your favorite language just by going through this link. And if you want to contribute to GitLab, you can also do that. I have also added the link for GitLab also. Okay. Here you can find all of this. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Then any questions? Any more questions and doubts?
Can we just create a pull request to someone who is currently working on a big project?
No.
We can, but it won't be a good thing because they are working in a big project and just spamming them won't be a good thing.
Okay.
It is the process is same. Just how you make a pull request to Sitam's account, you will make to a big account. Yeah. This was a really nice question. Anyone can ask.
Thank you, Saurabh, for your questions. And anyone?
If you want, you can ask me about Android, TF Lite, Google experience. How is it to work with? How is it to work with Google engineers? I can answer them also.
Yes, please, can you share your experience?
Yeah. First, I thought that working with Google engineers would be really tough. As they are so expert in their field, and the engineers I was working on with were from California, the Silicon Valley. So I thought that it won't be easy for me to collaborate with them as they are so expert in their fields. But one thing I noticed: the bigger the person is, the bigger the software developer or the person is in the industry, the more humble he is. So they are really friendly. Even my mentor for summer code shooted some videos for me for my YouTube channel.
Great.
So I have also one question that when we are contributing to any project, so out of this, we choose the organization A, but it does not get selected for CSOC, then what we will do? So we won't get into participate in CSOC.
Yeah.
So how to select the organization, correct organization?
You can just go through the GitHub archives and you can pick the organizations who are regularly getting selected to GSOC. And I will suggest you to contribute to the organization which is really active and they have lot of supports, lot of events coming up. They are doing lots of things. Because even if they don't get selected for GSOC, you will get other opportunities from that community. So that will be a safe bet.
So we have to see the previous results, like which organizations are constantly getting selected.
Yeah, there's a site called Google Summer of Code Archives. I can share the link with you. So here you can see. Let me show you this. GSOC. Here you can see all of the organizations which got selected for GSOC 2020, 2029, 2018, and you can pick one which got selected for last 2 or 3 years. Most probably they will get selected for this year also. Just go to it. Let me share the link. I have shared the link in the chat. Yeah. You can just go through this link.
Okay, Shunit, one more question. How to start with Android development, and do you need to learn Kotlin first or anything beforehand knowledge?
No, I think you can start with both Java or Kotlin, but I will suggest you to, if you don't have much time and you want to really looking for placements or really want to work on projects, I will highly suggest you to start with Kotlin. But in the end, you have to learn Java for Android development because till now there are so many libraries, so many projects which are written in Java. So you have to understand them. And if you even if you want to rewrite them in Kotlin, you first have to understand them in Java. I know it won't be tough, but you need to know some level of Java to convert it in.
Yeah, basically all the libraries like Android X, if we check that, then these are background or written in Java.
Yeah,
And,
they're changing it, but still
till now. For understanding
Till,
that what is going in background, we have to learn Java,
Yeah.
because Kotlin is also based on JVM based.
Yeah, they say what they say is Kotlin is just a better designed Java.
Yeah, say a Pythonized version of Java.
Yeah,
I like to say it.
and I think, but if you are not something who wants to really expertise on this, or who
Yeah.
don't have time for that, you can
Hmm.
start with Kotlin. There are good community support for Kotlin right now. In 2017 it wasn't there, but in 2021 you can just do everything.
It's the future, no doubt.
Kotlin is future of mobile development, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because KMM also there.
yeah, KM is there.
Sunit, one more question from my side, that if I am thinking that I want to participate in GSOC 2022, then how should I start from now?
Yeah. There are two. I think I have shared this with you. There are two ways to get selected, and you won't find any YouTube video which is talking about this. One way is that what everyone's talk about is contributing to the organization and being really active in the community, helping out. They don't want the most expertise person. They want the most helpful person, to most friendly person. So you want to be that in the organization of which you are targeting to. And another way of getting selected to GSOC is building a solid portfolio, building a solid profile, sharing whatever you are doing, small or big, to the public platforms, and contributing to open source projects, which can be not related to the organization you are targeting to. Even if you are contributing to Android, the projects in Android's GitHub account, it will add a great credibility to your name. So if you can do that, they are also looking forward for the expertise.
Okay, then should we start with one organization, or we should pick two organizations at a time and continue with it we can separate time?
Yeah, I think it is October now. If you contribute to two organizations, it won't be much hard for you. You can go with two organizations.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, any more questions?
Should I go for web development or Android development?
It really depends on you, what you like to develop. If you want to develop web development, websites, you want to go for web development. But there are, other than the tech side, there are some things that are really differs in both of the jobs. Like there are so many web developers, so there are more web development jobs. And because there are so many web development jobs and web developers, the salary is less. And if you go for mobile development, specifically native development, Android, iOS, there are less developers. And the jobs are also less, but the salary is also high. So you have to keep that in mind.
I think you should explore a little bit,
Yeah.
then you should
Yeah.
you should go with.
If no one has decided, you can the iOS development field is really safe, and you can really do great in that field because there are very less developers. Even in US, there are very less iOS developers, and there is the salary hike is salary is something.
Much more
But
bigger.
not in
obviously.
India, no.
Huh?
Not in India.
What?
iOS development.
Oh, iOS. There are iOS developers in India and jobs for iOS developers in India, and the situation is same in India. The iOS for the same task, Android developer will get 30,000, where the iOS developer will get 40 or 45,000, as they are less in numbers. So their demand is high. And if someone wants to go to that consultancy and freelance site, going with a React Native or Flutter like framework will be really nice, because mostly you will be approaching to the small businesses and they want the most in a little amount of money. So when you are using Flutter, you can develop so many applications with the same code base, and they are not really looking for the performance. So that is a really nice for freelancers.
But for a specific term,
Yeah.
you have to learn native.
For a specific terms.
For more hardware specific works.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Hardware specific work. Like if I want to
Like-
work with sensors.
Like they can, but that is really hacky. I don't recommend that. The big jobs and the big Netflix like apps which are really media based are the ones which are made which are created by native development. And the Pinterest app, I was listening to the Android lead of Pinterest. She was that app is totally written in native Android, and they just use the base APIs, nothing new, because they have to they are responsible for so many users. So the big jobs will be always on natives.
Yeah.
Native.
Yeah.
But the freelancing side will be for the cross platform.
For the cross platform, yeah. Because it increases the performance.
Big companies always prefer native. They don't want to be in a situation where they can't do anything. They always want to be in the best situation. So they will not take that risk.
The fun thing is that with native development, you can do anything with that device.
You can do most of the things.
Most of the thing, yeah.
And there are some limitations to the cross platform. Oh, that's it.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, Sunit, one question. Let's say I am a native Android developer. Then if I want to start with cross-platform, then how should I start? Then it means, should I keep the 3 months to that development, or should I keep it regularly?
As you, you can't do it regularly. It is
That's
not
the reason.
even
That's the reason.
So you just need to go to get through the basics. As you already know our tech stack, so it will be more easy for you to adapt another. So you just need to go through the basics, and then you just need to build a big project with it. Mediocre size project will be good.
Yeah.
And then what you will need is only the confidence to build it. And most of the times most high profile developers get stuck and they search on internet. You will also do it, but building a project gives you a confidence that you can do this.
then it means it will be easier for the. But if I know the stack, then it will be easier for me.
Yeah, as you know already know a stack, it will be easier for you to adopt others.
Okay.
Other
Okay.
stacks.
Okay. Thank you. So, guys, any more question? Okay, Sunit, then I think there has no other questions.
So let me just do a screenshot here. You can turn on your camera. I will click a screenshot.
Sure.
Let me look another. Yeah, that was really nice. Thanks, Shora, for showing up. So this is it. If anyone gets stuck while contributing to their first project or have any queries about Android, TF Lite, or mobile in general, can reach me out to my social links, and I will suggest you to join my Discord. There are some great software developers, so there is a great opportunity for you to network with them.